let's get started. So there are two big places where the AI research assistant shows up in the Family Search experience. Place number one is right on the home page. If you've logged in recently, you may have noticed this. There are all of these record hints. It's like, oh, great, record hints. We've had those for a long time, but they're right here on the home page, and you can see it says AI Research Assistant at the top. There's some extra kind of AI special sauce going on in the background with these particular record hints. When you see these in the background, there is an AI and there's an LLM that's actually building a virtual tree for you and comparing all of the record hints that you have against that virtual tree and determining which record hints to show you that are the most likely to add somebody to your family tree. And so record hints are record hints, and they're great, but as you have all experienced, many times record hints are like, oh, good, like additional sources for somebody who I already have, you know, it's like, exactly, it's like, glad to establish those facts. But these particularly are tuned in for our records or hints that will extend your tree and add new people to it. So all of that said, just because AI suggested it doesn't mean you should trust it. So you've all had experience. I hear a chuckle arising from the room. It's like, yes, we've all been in those trenches. Good. So if you click on one of those, it's going to pop open and give you a little summary like this. And then clicking on attach is going to take you to the source linker. And I'm sure, or I should say, a tool that we call the source linker. We'll look at that in just a second. I'm sure that you're familiar with this tool, but many people are not, and many of the people here and online who are watching this may need a little bit of a refresher on some of the ins and outs and ways that you actually use Source Linker effectively and not make a mess accidentally in your tree. So we're going to touch on some of that here as we're actually going to look at my granddad, who I spent summers with in Texas growing up, in just a second, and a source for him. So that being said, apply the usual criteria that you apply when considering a source and attaching it to the tree, even with these curated AI-selected record hints, okay? I call these rules the core four. These are sort of like your baseline criteria for making a good decision as to whether or not to attach a source to somebody in the tree. Number one is, how well do the names, the relationships, the important events and their dates and places, how well does that align to the information that's already in Family Tree? This is actually a research methodology called the family handprint or family fingerprint, where, well, just ask yourself this question. As you're looking at this source and you're looking at this family in the tree, what are the odds that a family exists in that same time and place that has all of those same people, those same names, in those same relationships? The odds are pretty slim. The more names and the more relationships you have, the better your odds get that you've actually got a unique, like a true match, right? And so consider that. Consider the odds. Number two, is there enough information? Lots of times, the kinds of records that you'll find through record search, right, or through full text search, will be sparse. You'll just have like an index of names, and you know, that says this person was here at this time, and in many cases, all you've got is like a name and a date. That's not a lot of information to go on, right? You be the judge, but just consider, you know, that versus having multiple data points in those sources to kind of triangulate in on what the truth really is, all right? And so consider the source, or I guess, well, that's number four, but we'll get to that again. Is there enough information? Number three is, are there any major red flags? Like, say that you've got a birth record that seems to line up really well for the person that you're considering. All the names look right, you know, the mom and dad look right, the place looks right. But there's, you know, the dad's date of birth is 15 years off or something like that, or the person you're considering, their date of birth is like 10 years off. You know, like, everything looks good except this one thing. For those, like, dig deeper is what I'd say. You might have the right person. It might just be a mistake in how that record was indexed. If it's something like a census, it could be a mistake in how that census was captured, what the census taker wrote. But it could also be that you're looking at a cousin, right? Particularly if that person has a very common name, right? There's somebody, like a lot of people in my family tree named John James. I'm like, oh yeah. Like we've got lots of weird merges and lots of redundant sources across them. And so consider multiple data points to triangulate, right? And look out for red flags. And then number 4, how reliable is the source? So not all source material is created equal. An anecdote from a newspaper clipping that, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so were married is a lot weaker than a notarized marriage certificate from the government for, you know, your great aunt and uncle. And so consider the source and the quality of the source. Weigh all of those things as you're considering whether or not to attach. So AI is great, but you know, use your best judgment. Use these kinds of criteria to get zeroed in. All right, now, again, for those who are familiar with SourceLinker, this is going to be some review, but for those who are not and who are genuinely beginners and interested in this stuff, we're going to do a little demonstration for a second, how to use this tool and how to use it beyond like a simple case. So hopefully this works. I'm going to switch over and get to a different, oh wait, nope, sorry, I forgot. They gave me instructions and I didn't listen. Here we go. Aha, yeah, follow the instructions. Okay, so this is a record that is my grandfather's obituary. My grandfather's name was Earl Clifton Stevenson, Jr. He was born and grew up in Texas. As a kid, I would go spend at least a month every summer hanging around with Grandmommy and Granddaddy down there in Fort Worth, and we'd go have great times. And so I've got a lot of good memories with my grandfather. And this is his obituary. He died almost 20 years ago now, I guess. It's been a little while. And we have a lot of family, and this obituary mentions all of them, and it makes for a great example of how to use SourceLinker effectively, because there's a lot of information here to line up. So the tool that you're looking at is called SourceLinker. That's at least what we call it internally with our product teams in FamilySearch. But really what it is a tool for how to get a source and attach it to a person in the tree. Over here on the left-hand side, this information, oh wait, can you see my mouse? Yes. This information is what's from the obituary. So this is the index coming from the record, all right? And then over here on the right, this is what's in family tree. And so I get to compare the stuff on the left to the stuff on the right to see if I've got a good match. And you can see that there are all these people that are mentioned in the record on the left, and there are all these people in the tree who that might or might not line up to, all right? Guess what? There's more. But in order to see what's more, you have to be able to adjust the view a little bit, and we're going to look at how to do that. So to get things started, when we want to make an attachment, again, we just click this attach button, and you'll see that all of a sudden I get these details. The details on the left are fields that were indexed out of the record, right? And the details on the right are just, you know, conclusions that have been added to the family tree. And so I can say, yep, I'm going to add this obituary date. That looks good. And professional staff occupation, I don't know about that. I might leave that one alone. And a residence, Fort Worth, non-specific. So let's actually fix this here. There we go, Tarrant. Good to go. And then we'll add a reason. And my reason for this one, and I'll do this once, but then I won't bore you with doing this 100 times after this because we have a lot to do, is going to be names and relationships align very well. That's that first principle we talked about. And yeah, can you hold it till the end? Birth date's different? Well, we'll take, okay, good catch. Let's take a look at that. Let's see. Birth date, 21st of July. Birth date, 22nd of July. Close enough for hand grenades. So we'll go with it on this one, but that's a good catch. I'll go I'll go look into that a little bit later. Often, sometimes with obituaries, they'll publish multiple days, and that would make sense for like a record date. But yeah, and a birth date, that's probably some kind of typo or something. So I need to correlate that one. Good catch. But attach that one for now. All right, next up, his wife, my grandmommy, Grandmommy Stevenson, Barbara. No additional details being added for her, but she is mentioned in the record. So we're going to pull her in and attach that too. All right, you might recognize that guy, that's me, but I am not a sibling to my parents. I'm in the wrong place. We're going to deal with that in a second. Mostly what we'll do is just leave me alone. Anything that you don't want attached, if you leave it alone, it doesn't get attached. And so you can leave things in, you can bring things in, you can leave things out, and it will be a-okay. So in this case, I'm going to leave me out. However, this right here is my mom. We're going to pull her in. She was living in Dallas in 2007. That looks right. Grab that. That's my Uncle Ross. He was living in Fort Worth. He's still there. Bless him. And then that is my Aunt Susan, and she is still there in Benbrook. This is fun. I feel like I'm taking you guys down like memory lane. This is my childhood growing up. All right, and then you can see that my grandfather's brother Jerry, who preceded him in death, is also mentioned. We'll get Jerry attached. Again, it looks like it's just a mention of the name. There are no additional facts in the record that we can pull in as conclusions in the tree to flesh in his profile in the tree. So that's true. That's a great point. And I don't know if I can make a comment like that from here, but I can. Yeah, I can just put it right here. Note, Jerry died before. Yeah. Boy, with all of your help, we could be here for a minute. So this is going to be good. But I appreciate it, sincerely. I went through and I unlinked all of this earlier so that I'd have a good example to use. And now putting it back, it's going to be like 10 times better. So I'm happy about this. All right, now's where things get interesting. I've got these other people who are in the record, and I know who they are, but I don't really have anybody in the tree that I can line them up to. And then there's this whole deal with me. So what do I do about this? The thing that I do is I change my focus person. You can do this as many times as you want while you're attaching a source. Just shift who you're looking at. And depending on who you're looking at, right now it's focused on my grandfather. As we change this, you're going to see that suddenly new people show up on that right-hand side, and we can finish attaching those people who are in the record. So in this case, I'm going to switch the focus to my mom. Boop. And then, I show up in a good place. I'm not a brother, but, whoops. Actually, I don't show up in a good place, not yet. There we go. All right, so just to slow down and call attention to what I'm doing, there's a siblings section, right? I'm not a sibling. There's a children's section, and I am a child. And if we pop this open, there's me right there. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to drag it up so it lines up to the right person in the tree. Okay? Grab things, drag them, move them. You get people aligned the way they need to be aligned. All right? And it's by doing that. Grab guys on the left and drag them up and down until you've got them in the right places, aligned to the right stuff in the tree. All right? Now that that's set up, I can attach that. And yep, I was in Salt Lake in 2007. Pull that note out on that one. Excellent. All right, now these guys, what do I do about them? Elizabeth Corey, Aunt Liz, is my Uncle Ross's late wife. So, any guesses? We're going to change focus person, and we're going to switch over to my Uncle Ross. And then, ta-da, we've got, whoops, got a problem there. But we've got a spot to plug in Aunt Liz. And in this case, it's going to add Aunt Liz because she isn't in the family tree yet. Pull this in. I've got details, but I don't have them with me right now. But we'll create a new person for Aunt Liz, and we will finish fleshing in the rest of her data a little bit later, and you guys don't have to watch me go through it all. Next up, Raymond Motley. This is my Aunt Susan's ex-husband. So we'll come back to this. I noticed this earlier when I was trying to set this up, that I think that I might have a doppelganger in the tree, which doesn't surprise me because I'm alive, but I'll have to clean that up. Or after I die, somebody please go clean that up. Okay. So we'll get in here, and it's like, yep, there's a spot to add another living person. This guy is still alive, so we won't kill my Uncle Raymond. Get him in there. And then Savannah right here is actually their child. So so we'll get her into this child section. Okay, this is a mess. I'm going to get rid of this. It's bugging me. We'll get Savannah into that child section. Maybe I can put myself down there. There we go. And we'll add her too. Female, she's still living. Get her in there, etc. Pull it in. Benbrook, Tarrant, done. Okay. So by changing who our focus person is, we can get this tool set up so that we can line people up the way they need to be lined up. And that lets us go through a complex record like an obituary and get everybody in it. And so the next time you are attaching a source and you see a whole lot of people in the record who are down here in other, think about if you know who they are and where they go, and then change the focus person to somebody who's related to them directly, like a husband or a parent. And then once you've got that, you'll have a good spot to plug them in. And you can account for everybody who's in the record. So, yeah, go ahead.
So with these folks being alive, you're the only one that's going to see this attachment.
Thank you. That question was, when we're adding living people into the family tree, they are private for, like obvious reasons, right? We don't want to share this kind of information for living people all over the place as much as we can help it. And so that's correct. When I make a living person in the tree, like we just did, it's private to me. And then when that person dies or they get flipped to deceased, right, a bunch of whoever else has a version of them is going to get flipped to deceased, and we're going to have a great party merging all of those people and aligning all of those sources. And it'll be a great time.
So much fun.
Yeah. And before we go on, please make a note of your question. And we're going to have a QA, and there are these microphones here in the aisles that will that'll actually go to all the people who are hearing us on the live stream. And so that way they'll be able to know what's going on like we can here in the room. So couple of other quick things to note on this is that if you are like, wait, I'm looking at this data, but I can't remember exactly what was in there, all of the things that we think that you might need are near at hand. So clicking on View Record over here will get you a view of the record, and you can open this in another tab if you want by clicking View Record. You can look at that more closely. You can look at the image that way, and then with any of these folks, you can click on them and get all of their details that are in the tree as well. And so again, if you're like, I'm not quite sure what that said, you can just click on it, pull it up right here on the side, and work on it while you're still doing the source attachment. So last thing is that there is this tips and resources tool right here, which has some fantastic articles about the ins and outs of SourceLinker. So if you ever get stuck on something, I highly recommend coming over to this nice purple page and looking around for an answer here, because a lot of effort went into making this documentation really well. It's a complex task, and we recognize that. And sometimes, as much as we try to make experiences streamlined and easy to do, sometimes there's just a layer of complexity that you can't design around. You just have to do it. And so to help with that, we've put up these documents to try and make any use cases that you might run into easy to navigate or easier to navigate. So make sure you check that out. All right. If there are any questions, jot them down, and we'll definitely have some time at the end to answer them. Let's see. I think, yeah, I'm going to switch. Oh, good. You can, like, see everything. Man, no secrets. I'm glad I put myself on Do Not Disturb so I don't get any, like, embarrassing text messages. That's totally happened to me in presentations at FamilySearch before. So, okay, those were the AI curated hints on the homepage of FamilySearch. That's place number 1, where you get to interact with the AI research assistant. Place number 2 is on a person details page when you're looking at somebody's profile in the tree, okay? And what you'll see is there is this shiny little green button over here that says, Ask the AI Research Assistant. That's a button. And if we click on that, we're going to get a new view. Now, the way that you get this isn't turned on by default right now. The way that you get this is you go to familysearch.org/labs. If you haven't looked at FamilySearch Labs yet, please do. There are a bunch of different product experiments and tool experiments that you can go turn on here. And this is a great place to see and test stuff before it gets released on the main product. And so we love it when people come and use these and then send us feedback about what's working, what's not, what they'd change, etc. And so if you can, please do. There's a lot of really interesting stuff here. Go check it out. The one to turn on the AI Research Assistant, the chat with the AI Research Assistant on the profile page is this one that's circled in red, chat with AI about your ancestors. Just go hit that try it button and it'll look like this, and then go back to your ancestors profile page and you're good to go. When you get there, it'll look like this. Let's see. So if you click on that, which we are totally going to do right now, something like, here we go. Something like this opens up. In fact, here, I'll just close it. There it is, click, ta-da. And this looks like it's set up, the tool is set up as a chat dialog. Now, you're going to notice some differences between this and between like using, ChatGPT or using, Gemini and Google or any of these other LLMs. What you'll really notice is that the kinds of prompts that you use to like dig more information out and make the AI work harder for you don't really work very well in this yet. The team that develops this is working on improvements for it. They've been upgrading to latest models, but this definitely has not grown into like their full vision for what they want it to be just yet. Again, we're going to talk about some workarounds on this when we talk again tomorrow at 9:30. And so things you can do to bring kind of more AI power to bear on your research questions. What this can do, though, is that if you have somebody who's new in the family tree, who doesn't have a lot of source material, maybe you just added them, this is a great place to go to find new sources for them. Rather than you going in and putting all of that stuff into record search or into full text search and trying to find additional sources. That way, this can find a lot of them kind of all at once and suggest them to you. So I was asking it, hey, did Walter and Anna have any other children? So they've got these 4, and you can see I've got some work to do. I need to go take care of Aunt Thelma. And it was like, I found these 2. And I'm like, okay. Or it says, I found these 3 siblings and these 2 sources. And I'm like, that's great. And usually with ChatGPT, you can say, go look again, right? And often it'll improve its response. Again, we'll talk more about those prompting techniques tomorrow. But in this case, it doesn't. It just says, nope, here they are, deal with it. However, the thing that I would point you to is up here there is a button that says see all sources. What the AI assistant does is it will go out and it will search record search, it'll search full text search, it will search newspapers, it will search the web, just the internet at large. Like it'll look in a bunch of different places all at once and bring all of that stuff back and just sock it away right here. And so if you want a quick list of a bunch of sources that you should go check out, this is a really good place to look. Again, all sources on that AI Research Assistant tab right up there on the top right. And so there was another one I had. I don't think I've still got it open. No, maybe it was Granddaddy. Yeah, sometimes it looks like this. If you haven't started a conversation with the AI Research Assistant, it looks like this. And in this case, you can see I've got a record hint for Granddaddy. Actually, that's the one that we just attached. But then I've got 4 hits from full text search, which is awesome. For anybody who doesn't know, full text search is newish. Like I'm pretty sure that most of you are familiar with it. But the thing to know about it is that FamilySearch has got about 5.5 billion images like stored on servers. Don't ask me how much that costs. It's a lot. And out of all of those, there are some that work well for indexing projects, right? That we can, our volunteer indexers have helped us index. We've paid people to help us index them, right? In order to make them searchable and findable. But only some of them kind of fit that mold. There's all of this other content that we'd consider like mid-tier, right? Where the intent of those records wasn't necessarily to document some life event like a birth or a marriage or a death, but instead they're documenting, somebody paid their taxes or, somebody went to this school, kind of secondary events. All of that stuff has a lot of very rich information in it about families, but it doesn't really fit an indexing mold very well. That's all the stuff that's in full text search. The reason full text search is great is because it makes a bunch of content that we've never been able to make searchable. And in the last 2 years, we've put 2.5 billion images into it. All of the English mid-tier is in there, all of the Spanish mid-tier is in there, and all the Portuguese mid-tier is in there. Like most of North and South America are covered. And so as we get more, it's going in. So anyway, quick plug for full text search, sorry. Anyway, got some full text search hits, and then again, sources already attached. So great place to go to kind of scan the field and see what the AI Research Assistant could find for you. All right, that said, there's one other thing that I want to call your attention to, which is relatively new. And my good friend Robbie Parker works on this. But that is that little guy right there. The quality score is something relatively new that we've added to the profiles on the tree. This is going to get more development. This is going to get deeper and richer and better. One of our goals with Family Tree is, first of all, we understand that Family Tree isn't the best tool ever for doing active research, for keeping different hypotheses going, and probing different branches and, figuring out what to do with all that. We get it. And in some ways, it's, we extend it that direction as much as we can, but in some ways, that's not really what it's meant to do in the beginning. Its real intent is to act as an archive, as a repository of everybody's collaborative work to put together one giant family tree. And we understand that as good information goes into Family Tree, that builds up a certain amount of inertia, you could say. And one of the things that we're actively working on now is to make all of that good research that's in Family Tree more transparent to people as they make decisions about changing data. So if you're like, should I add this source or not? One of the things we want the tools to show you is here are all of the sources that already document that fact that you're considering, and here's what yours says. If it aligns to that, great, go ahead. If it doesn't, please don't. We think that through transparency, a lot of the data problems that happen in the family tree can be eliminated, and this is one of our first steps to get to a more transparent state. Got some spontaneous clapping. Woo! All right. I'll pass that on to Robbie. He'll be happy. So if you pop that open, you get things like this right now. It's pretty simple, but more is on the way. Data completeness, right? It's like, hey, just so you know, like there are some facts and some sources that are missing details that you should probably add. And here's another one, source tagging. Lots of times, and this happens a lot in full text search, people will just go attach an image, right? And they'll say, done, like source attached to person, like we're done. However, what really helps for everybody coming behind you, and you've all been in my shoes in this, right? We've all done this together. There are sources that, and you don't know exactly what facts that are actually backing up. That's what tags do, is they say that source backs up this fact. And it makes it really clear for anybody coming behind you what happened. So anyway, as you're going along, as you're using Source Linker like we did earlier, please remember, add your tags. Thank you. So all of these things together, we hope, make for happy patrons of Family Search, and that we all together can work together to build an amazing asset and resource for the family of humankind. So our goals with this are truly to reach the end of the earth. We want everybody to be able to figure out where they come from and to understand their story. And we count it an honor to be engaged in such a virtuous effort together with you. And so thanks for letting us serve you, and thank you for participating with us. Last thing, just a final kind of caution, and that is we are definitely in the midst of something of an AI revolution, where AI is having more and more impact on more and more parts of our economy and processes. That all being said, there is still no substitution for intelligent people making intelligent decisions. Please come, please bring your best, and remember that there is no machine that can do better than your intuition in many cases. And so in many cases, as you know, in family history, that's exactly what it comes down to. And so my best wishes upon you as we go forward into the future, and thank you for letting me share this time with you. Let's, thanks. I'm done a little bit early, so we have some extra time for answering questions. If you have a question, please go use the microphones that are over here in the aisles, because that way the people who are online can hear us. They'll hear your question and yep, they'll be plugged in to the conversation. So I know we had a couple. If those are still valid, please go for it. Be happy to answer some questions. And I'll do the best I can. Also, I think that we have one of the engineers, hey, there you are, thanks for coming, who works on the team that develops the AI Research Assistant, hanging out in the back. And so if you stump me, I'm going to use my lifeline and call him forward to the microphone so that he can answer. So thanks for coming. All right, go ahead.
I have a two-part question. It's
Yep.
about linking on the source linker living people.
Yes.
So it seems to me the best practice would be to only link people that are directly related to me.
Yeah, anybody who you create who's living will be only visible to you. It's kind of a little private copy of them to you. And so even if it's some fifth cousin over here, right, and they happen to be alive, if you know that they're alive and you add them as a living person, like, it'll be okay. Like, when they do pass away at some point and get marked deceased, those people will be merged and it'll get resolved.
Okay, suppose I'm working on a project where I'm going through census records and linking families together. So they're really, I don't know anything about them. When I come across someone that could possibly still be alive, I leave them alive and I do not link them.
That's probably a good practice, yeah. I don't know if I'm exactly the authority to answer it, but that sounds like a good practice to me. I'd say when in doubt, exercise caution.
All right, last question. Is there a limit as to how many live people I can link in my account?
I don't believe there is. You know, an engineer might step forward and correct me, but I don't believe that there is. At least I haven't encountered it. Thank you. Let's go this side. We'll jump back and forth. Go ahead.
Okay. I just had a quick question and a comment. How far back is this usually affected? Say you, most of these are with 1800 or after. If you're going further back, how effective is that at this time?
The AI research assistant specifically, it prioritizes, like the record hints that we were seeing on the homepage, it definitely prioritizes people who are closer to you in the tree. Okay. So it'll prioritize the more recent stuff. But it'll also, and I do believe that it will spin for a certain amount of time and then cut off. And so if it's working its way back in the tree, it might stop before it hits some actual record hints that might be back there. So it does have a blind spot in that regard. Okay,
and just a quick comment. I've been using that to find mistakes.
Great.
In the family tree, but there's just one cautionary note. A lot of times people will put birth estimates in the birth and then a known christening date. Mm-hmm. And when you go to remove the bad data, it says it can lower your quality score. And I'm afraid some people will mistake that to mean your data's bad. To me, the quality score just means how much information do you have that's good.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
And excellent discernment as well, where it's like, this isn't actually a birth date, right? You might, but the quality score is saying, you know, if you remove a birth date, I'm going to ding you, right? Mm-hmm. As a stand-in, you might say probably, you know, about this year, and give, you know, throw the birth date a bone, which will definitely make it more findable for people who are doing searches and searching for that person. But you're absolutely right. It's better to be more accurate and say that's actually a christening date. It doesn't say it's a birth date. We're gonna keep it as a christening date for now, unless you know you're an expert in that area of the world and you know for a fact that like no, the standard process is that you know they get christened day of kind of thing. So, good question. Let's go over here.
On the source link page, when you were finished attaching the section, you would click on then the attach button at the bottom of the section. Opposite of that, there's a box on the other side that I believe says attach or add to source box. You didn't click on that. Why or why not?
I personally, well, in this case, I'm not using the source box or didn't need to use the source box in this particular case. Sourcebox is basically a folder for me to keep track of various sources that I'm considering. And for whatever reason, there is a kind of a convenience function to add stuff to the sourcebox directly from the source linker. So, but I'd consider the sourcebox kind of a working file of sources that that are under consideration.
Okay, because if I'm going to like have an event like a birth or a death or christening, and I found that record that came in through the hints, then I've been adding it to the source box so then I can add it to that person as a source. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but I'm not sure if that's the intended function of the source box.
Okay.
If you attach it, it's going to be added as a source to the person in the tree, even if you don't do the source
So it's automatically added anyway?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you bet. This side.
When you were changing the person that you were focused on, like your parents, so you could put you in, I noticed that you changed it on the right side. I usually do it on the left side. Does it matter?
If the effect is the same, then it doesn't.
Okay.
But that's a good question, and I'm kind of curious now. Let's go look at it. Where were we doing it? We were over here. I can probably back up into that.
So I would always do it on the family search tree side, right
Like
there.
this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great question. Let's see if it, yeah, seems like it works just
Either
as
way.
well. Yeah, and so
Okay.
great call out though. If you do it on one side and you're not getting, you're not able to resolve everybody in the record, maybe try it on the other side, right? Until you can get the right people showing up on both sides so you can link them.
Okay.
So good question and good call out. I didn't even notice that. See, this is why I love coming and doing like roots tech stuff, is I always learn something new every time. So thank you. Let's go to this side.
Okay, question on duplicate records and like merged and deleted records with this. A lot of the problem that what I do and what I'm researching is that I see a lot of the same person multiple times. So a lot of duplicates, and it's because their sources have been attached multiple times. But the problem is if you dig deeper into the lines, you find out, no, this isn't the same person, it's just the same name. And then you get, right now I'm working in a lot of England, 1600s, that type of stuff. And they all have the same name. They name their kids the same name, their grandkid the same, everyone has the same name. And so what is your recommendation or suggestion for using AI to match the right source to the right person? Because I can go through a line and I can look at this person, let's say Mary. I can look at Mary and I know in my line by research that I have a Mary, but when I look deeper into Family Search, her records and her is not attached to me. She has no relationship to me, but the sources are saying something different, but also I have physical source that she is not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what's your suggestion for using AI for this purpose of discerning between, oh, this is just a person with the same name, or, oh, this is a duplicate record that's popping up over and over?
Mm-hmm. First of all, thank you for your work, because there is so much of that in the family tree, and that's one of the massive, like one of the largest kind of areas of work that needs attention, frankly, is that kind of reconciliation. The AI tools that are available on the site today, frankly, aren't to that level yet. They don't have the horsepower yet. But if you come tomorrow to Ballroom H at 9:30, we're going to talk about some things that you can do to bring more AI power to bear on problems like that one. And so you're absolutely right. And the quick spoiler or a glimmer of hope is that yes, there are things that you can do to get insight faster and get to good resolutions and good leads faster using AI. But for me at least, I have to use AI tools outside of the site in order to pull it off. But come tomorrow and we'll talk about them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. This side.
This is more of a comment.
Yeah.
I was noticing in my own record, when it pulls up on a marriage date, that what's in the record is actually the date that the license was issued and not the date that the marriage actually took place.
Yep.
And
Yes.
so I've attached a comment to that one saying that this is when the license was issued, but the marriage date was actually this other date.
Good. Thank you for attaching a comment. I think that's a great example that kind of bears a witness to the fact that we are all in this together. And so the more comments you leave that kind of show your work and show your thinking, the more you are paying it forward, both to yourself later when you come back to this and you're like, what was I thinking? As well as to anybody else who shares that ancestor with you, who's coming in there to try and understand why the tree's set up the way it is and what you were thinking. So great question, and thank you. Yes?
Hi. Yeah, you showed us full text search on the person page.
Yes.
There's another up, if you go to the top, search, and you go to full text search there. How is that different, and will I get different records if I use that one?
Same search system. And so if you go to it through the menu here, this is kind of the human front door, right? This is the front door that you and I use when we want to go search for things and use them. What we were seeing in actually I guess it was over here, in like these all sources. Where'd that go? Right here. This will take you to the same place, more or less. It'll take you, actually, let's just click on one. We're live, we can do that. Actually, it took us to a different view. So this, it brought us to the image. This is actually a bug. It's supposed to bring us to an image with the transcript showing, but that's something to go fix. If we, okay, like time to watch Ian like hack on the site for just a second. Let's see, view equals text. This is the path that it's supposed to take us to, where we've got the raw transcript over here on the side. And so thanks for calling that out. I know just who to tell about that bug. But at the end of the day, they are coming from the same place. They're coming from the same search system. Just in one case, the AI is using an API to access it and pull back results for you. And in the other case, we're going in through the UI, through the front door that's built for you and me. So does that answer your question?
Kind of.
Okay, thanks. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is a, yes. So there are also changes coming to this experience. I agree that this is not very fun to look at or read or work with. It does have some utility, but I very much like the AI summary of this as well. And there is a principle here called re-rendering, which is we have an image that you can see in pixels. We send AI technology through that to pull out all the transcripts, right? And that includes where all of those words are located. And with the newer versions of it that we're implementing this year, it also includes like even like spatial relationships and connections between those things, right? And then when we re-render that back into something to look at, we can re-render it this way, right? This is like a really naive rendering. Or we can re-render it this way, right? Where we actually preserve some of that structure, we line things up, we present paragraphs as paragraphs, etc. Yes, like in process. So please stand by. You're welcome. Sorry. That was a spontaneous question from the audience. The question was looking at the full text UI, just asking, please, is there a nicer way to render this text so that it's more legible and easier to use? So for the sake of the folks online, but good question. Yes?
Hi, thanks for being here. Quick question on the person page with the AI research assistant. When I'm looking at sources, does the context for the AI include the notes that I put in for the person? For example, the lady that mentioned all the different people that are all the same people, and I've found that in the past I've just added a really hefty note saying these are all the different people that, and this is why they're all different, please don't add the sources and things like that. Does the AI include those notes into its context, or are those excluded?
Excellent question. And who have I got back there? Is that Kurt or Carl? Now is your time to shine. Come on up to the microphone if you could and give us an answer for that. Or here, you can use that one if you'd like, a shorter trip.
The quick answer is no.
Okay.
It does not, but we could add it. We've never thought about it. Right now it's just taking basically all the vital information off of the person page through the API, and we use that and then use the sources. So it's just using sources directly.
All right. Cool, thank you. There's your thunderbolt of inspiration. So he said, but we could add it. So hopefully a note is made and that is experimented with going forward. Great question. Yes?
All right, I have 3 questions for you.
Okay.
The first is, are you seeing that having like the quality score, is that helping overcome the mindset that I've encountered in others? Years ago, I was sitting next to a fellow volunteer consultant in one of the family search centers, and he said, oh, I never put my sources in there because if someone's researching that line, I want them to come to me. And I said, that's great, but what happens when you die?
Yeah, great question.
I hadn't thought about that. So anyway, is Is having the quality score there kind of helping overcome that mindset?
Absolutely. That mindset and many other, I think, common foibles and anti-patterns, you could say, or anti-behaviors when we're working with the tree and working with each other. Okay. And so we want transparency, good dialogue, etc., as opposed to more gatekeeping behavior. So I'm glad that you helped him see the light. Thank you.
Thank you. Second question, the AI features, what's the kind of roadmap for getting those into the apps? Like, as I was looking, most of those seem to be just in the web app version and not in the like iOS and Android apps.
Right.
Is that true? Is that correct, or did I miss something?
I think that's true. Usually the mobile apps lag the web experience by at least a quarter or two. The person to pin down and talk to is Greg Richardson. He's wandering around here someplace. If you come talk to me afterwards, I'll help you find him.
Okay.
But I don't know off the top of my head. My guess is yes, it's coming. Okay. It's just a matter of where it shows up on the roadmap.
And then the last question, we've all heard about these very famous incidences where AI hallucinating things, you know, the lawyer who used ChatGPT to write his thing and it came up with a precedence case that was great but didn't exist. And you know, in my IT consulting world, I use it all the time, and half the time it comes up with bogus arguments to functions that don't exist. And so, you know, obviously you're always presenting things for people to make decisions. You're not having the AI automatically do things, but what else are you doing to try and combat those AI hallucinations?
Yeah, the best line of defense that we have is the good will and diligence of people using FamilySearch. However, as we also go forward, the more data points that we have to triangulate the truth, the better the results get. And so typically where we see the most hallucinations, and you can jump in and correct me if I'm off here, but is when the data to go off of is really thin, right? But it wants something that's going to look good, particularly look good grammatically. And so the direction of the industry, though, seems to be that the models themselves will be experts at having dialogue, but all of the information about actual facts and conclusions they should come to will come from external sources that are truthful and won't come out of the ether of the model. And so I think that that's a strong indicator as we go into more like council of expert type models, that we get better and better results out of that, because you can have critics in the group that are, and this is a prompt technique that we've, seen going through now, where it's like you criticize it and you say, like, I think you missed something, try again. It's like, oh, you're right, like there is something. That work on it until it's best representation of the truth that it can see outside of itself. So sorry if that was like way into the weeds, but that was a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. This side. We're down to, by the way, 5 minutes, so we've got time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. But there are only like 3 people standing up, so we ought to make it. Go for it.
Does the full text search include the search of handwritten documents, or is that a separate application?
Nope, it's, you're right. So the answer is no, yes. It includes all of the handwriting. In fact, the full text search, the recognition systems that FamilySearch developed were handwriting first. They actually did more poorly on machine print and handwritten print than they do on like old cursives and handwritten scripts. And so, yes, all the handwriting is in there.
It is.
Yep, it's all in there. Good question. Go ahead.
This is real simple. I heard you mention newspapers coming up. Mm-hmm. FamilySearch is not where I normally go for newspaper sources. I just wonder if you could tell us about newspapers on FamilySearch. Have they developed a good collection, or what? That's a great question. There are some newspaper sources on FamilySearch through collaborations with groups like Genealogy Bank. There are lots more newspapers out there, and rather than basically make another destination to get to those newspapers, FamilySearch is working on ways that we can
help get you to the best content, but just working together with the people who really specialize in newspapers. And so the folks at the booth and at like the storied booth would be really good people to talk to over in the expo hall to get some better optics on where that's going. So
Okay.
yeah, so yes, there's some more to come, but maybe not in like the conventional way.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just a little unclear about the difference between hints and AI hints, or AI, basically
Great.
hints. Are they, obviously AI gives us a little bit more information if you go into it, but aren't the hints basically doing the same thing?
Yeah, so thank you for asking this, because I think that a lot of people probably have this exact same question. They are just record hints. The only difference is that AI has filtered and curated which record hints they are to try and get ones that are always adding somebody new to the tree. That's where the AI is stepping in. It's taking like the standard old record hints and working out the ones that are specifically adding somebody new to the tree. So, great question. Okay, folks, I think that brings us to the end of our time. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful time at RootsTech.